on the book and YouTube, and then we'll get this thing rocking and rolling. So, wait for this to stream over. There we go. Looks like we're live on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? And we're live on Facebook. Nice. All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of Build with the CEO. I am in a different place. As you can see, my background is way different. I moved to a new office, and you can see it's not really much of an office right now. It looks more like a storage space, and we've got a bigger room, taller ceilings. So hopefully the audio is okay, and we'll kind of fix that over the next month or so as I'm getting adjusted into this new place. But we are still going to do Build with the CEO every Tuesday. My name is Trevor. I'm the CEO of Coach Catalyst, and I'm excited that you're here and ready to listen, ready to learn, and bring your questions. Like always with Build with the CEO, you get a chance to ask questions, kind of like your own little personal mastermind at noon every Tuesday. You can show up. If you can't show up live but want to ask questions, feel free to send them in. I send out an email every Monday talking about what we're going to talk about, and then we dig into it. So yeah, let's get to it. There was a question that came in today that I wanted to answer live, and I'm going to read it to you. It's a little bit longer. And this, I think, is a very similar scenario that we see in a lot of gym situations. So I could really use some advice. I'm just starting out online. I currently work in a gym, but want to gradually move into online coaching. I'm planning on offering only 2 packages right now. I'm thinking one package will be only a monthly workout calendar with a weekly check-in form, and the other package, a monthly workout calendar, weekly check-in form, consultation call, and nutrition coaching. I would appreciate any input you can give me to help me get started. I also need help with how much to charge for each. I live in Memphis, Tennessee area, so I would not be able to charge a lot. Any advice appreciated. Sweet. So, few things with this particular question. And there's some kind of like internal biases here going on that I'm seeing. First things first, awesome that this person wants to go online. Cool. And they're already working in a gym space, which is awesome. They're getting experience. They're learning how to coach people, which I think is really important. I think it's hard to just go directly online. I think having some in the trenches working maybe for a facility. And I always tell like most coaches, if you want to be a great coach, go find the best facility you can possibly work for, even if it doesn't pay the most, but the one that's going to educate you the most and help you become the best coach possible. And then get yourself online. Nutrition's a little bit different. I think it's a little easier to go online with nutrition because there's not as much of a physical component to it. But again, if you can have a mentor or something to work under, that can be really helpful in just getting your feet under you. But first, I'm going to kind of break these pieces down. And so first thing that this person said was kind of the features of their program. And so I would encourage this person to really think about who they want to serve and what problems are they going to solve, because the things like workouts and weekly check-ins, those are just like means to help the client achieve a result, right? The client really doesn't care about the workouts. If they could just show up and they're not even show up, but they could just sit on the couch, eat ice cream and watch Netflix and get the result that they wanted, they would probably do that because it's the path of least resistance, right? And so all of the things that this person said, they're all just features, right? They're all things that you're going to use as a coach. They're tools that you're going to use as a coach to help this client be successful, right? And so I think rather than thinking about I'm going to go online and I'm going to deliver workouts or nutrition or whatever, think about the problems that you want to solve. Okay, let's just start there. Let's start solving problems. Okay, and then you can figure out what the necessary tools are going to be in order to solve those problems. So hopefully that makes sense. And it's a different way to think about it. And this is really natural, right? We know workouts, we know nutrition, so that's how we think, right? But I want you to start thinking about the person and the problem. Okay, and then your stuff are simply tools to solve the problem. Okay, so that's the first one. There's a couple different packages there. Honestly, right away, don't even like, I had another question. Someone came into support with like, they had like 3 different options that they were going to do for potential plans that someone could be on. Right away, just pick one. Just do one. Like, no, there's no other choice. Like, make it simple right from the beginning. If you then need to diversify a little bit, then like diversify into other pieces. But right away, let's just get one rolling. Let's sell one, and then we can think about others. And right away, from most coaches, just sell one-to-one coaching. Sell one-to-one coaching, get really good at it, provide a great result. And once you get so busy with one-to-one, then back off into like a group type model. And I mean, you can use challenges and that kind of stuff to move people into one-to-one coaching, but honestly, you can charge the most, right? People are going to have the best experience. And if you have systems in place like Coach Catalyst, you can coach a fair amount of people one-to-one without a ton of problems, right? I mean, if you're coaching with Google Sheets and all that kind of stuff, then becomes an issue real quick. But if you're using platform, if you're using software, you can do it really well. So for this person, if I was coaching them, we would, number one, figure out their avatar, figure out the person that they want to help and the problems that they want to solve, right? Maybe they have expertise in a certain area, or maybe they've had change themselves, right? We need to figure out what's their unique angle into this. And so that would be kind of step one. We need to define the problem that we're solving. Then from that, we can figure out, hey, what does the actual experience look like? What are the tools I'm going to use to help this person be successful, right? That's kind of the next piece that we dig into. Now they're already working in a gym, right? So they already have a place where there's an audience, right? And I would have them just create a separate offering that's potentially like one time a month or one time a week or something like that, where they can start getting some experience in this online world, but still see people in person. So they can kind of gradually build into this online world. So that's how we would get started. And then let me look at the next piece of it. So I would appreciate any help you could get started. How much to charge for each? So that's always like the next question is how much to charge for each. And so I think as you transition, if you're doing, in person 1 day a week, 1 day a month, and then you're moving into online, you can just kind of charge around those same rates. So like, let's say in person one time a week was, one-to-one was like $75. Okay. So now we could easily charge 300, right? One session a week. That's 300 if we just think about that. So it could be $297 for your program. And it could be, and I would move up from there. Just because where you start doesn't need to be where you end. And so sell a few at that, see what kind of objections people are having, and then start to move up market to make it a little bit better, right? And so you could easily probably be in the $300 to $400 range. I know a lot of coaches will kind of start at the 250-ish mark. I think if you're in the like under 200, that might be a little bit inexpensive for the one-to-one model. I know I just spoke with a coach last week, and his one-to-one is $700 to $800 a month, and he also has a group option, which is, I think he said $250 for a group option, group coaching. So no one-to-one calls or anything like that. So don't undercharge, but when you're getting started, like, don't worry about it. Just start coaching people, and we can always move you up from there. If you want to start at 200 because that's what you feel comfortable with, you want to start at 150, whatever, right? And the next person that comes in, just bump it up a little bit and just see, hey, what happens at 225? What happens at 250? What happens at 275? What happens at 300? And work from there. And so I wouldn't get too caught up in charging. It can be a little bit challenging charging because this isn't like a physical product, right? It's not like a physical, here's how much it cost me to, make in China, and here's how much it costs to ship, and, here's my ad. Like, it's harder to do it with this because it's more like value, how much that person wants something. So when we're thinking about cost, right, or thinking about what to charge for something, we can think about it in a couple different ways. One is how skilled are we at doing this? So the more skilled we are at something, right, the more we can charge. So if we're just getting started and we need some practice, we probably can't charge as much as a person that's been doing this for 10 years, right? Because the more skilled you are, the faster you're going to get that person the result. The second thing is going to be how much pain is the person in, right? If I have severe back pain and I can't move at all, and you're willing and you have the ability and the knowledge to fix it right now without me really doing anything, I will pay you probably any amount of money to make that happen, right? And so we have to think about the problem that we're solving. How emotional is it? How bad does this person want this type of thing? Because the more they want something, or the more pain that they're in, the more we can go up market. Okay. And so that's how we start to think about pricing, but don't overcomplicate it. Just get going, and you can always adjust from there. So let me read this thing through again just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Starting out online, currently working a gym, but gradually moving to online coaching, right? So we would have them still keep coaching people in person, but create an online type component where they coach a person once a week or once a month to start getting comfortable with that. They were planning to offer 2 packages right now, one maybe more workout based, one more nutrition based. I wouldn't even worry about that right now. I would just pick one package and deliver it, and help that person be successful. Because if we know the person that we're helping and we know the problems they have, we can just create the package that solves those problems. So doing a little bit of market research and avatar research, ideal client, whatever you want to call it, and really trying to figure out their problems. Also need help with what to charge. Live in Memphis, Tennessee, so I would not be able to charge a lot. So this is a really interesting just piece that this person added in there. So I would not be able to charge a lot, and so they're already like subconsciously saying that they're not going to be able to charge very much. And so they're probably going to price themselves way too low. Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to look it up right now. What's the population of Memphis, Tennessee? So give me one sec. What's the population of Memphis, Tennessee? 621,000 people. Okay. You're telling me that you couldn't find 20 people to pay you $500 a month in Memphis, Tennessee, a town of 621,000 people, and you are online, right? So that means that you can work with anyone anywhere. And so my guess is you will be able to find people and be able to, deliver on your promise and charge what you're worth and have a great business, right? 20 people at $500 a pop is a 10K business, 10K a month business, right? 120 a year. That's a pretty nice, healthy business, because coaching has massive margins. You have a little bit of tech costs, you have a few other things, but it's really your time, and you can coach, and you can coach, and you can coach 20 people, not full time. Right. And provide a ton of value there. So just some insight there. Hopefully that's helpful. For those of you guys that are jumping on, if you do have comments or questions, just drop them into the chat. I've got Facebook going. I've got YouTube going. Still trying to figure out like my audio in here. It's a little bit echoey for me over top. And so I don't know. Hopefully it sounds okay for you guys. We got to figure out this new room and how we're gonna map this thing out. Hence the disaster behind me. But thanks for hanging out with me. Let's go to the next one. So the next one was getting client buy-in, or getting better buy-in from your client. So I wrote about this last Friday in our email newsletter, and this is something that comes up a lot with coaches. It's like, how do we get buy-in? How do we get buy-in? How do I get my clients to be all in right from the beginning? Which is a really good question. And if you're asking this question, it means you're a really good coach or want to be a really good coach. And these are the kind of questions we need to ask. So how do I get buy-in right away? So number one is getting the right client. Okay, if I'm not getting the right client, or the client that's not ready to change, it's going to be hard, right? We know this as coaches that we can't force someone to change. They need to be ready, willing, and able to change. Gary Mendoza, I tried to find this before, but the guy named Gary Mendoza, I think he's retired now. He had a company called Stages of Change, and I believe he did his doctorate thesis on a tool that he created that basically takes someone through the change process and figures out if they're ready for change. So you can actually use it with prospective clients to see if this person is ready to change or not. But even if someone isn't ready to change, you can use techniques like motivational interviewing to help move them along the change process and help them figure out where they are and what they want to accomplish. And so that's definitely a technique that I highly recommend a lot of people dig into. Motivational interviewing, there's some great books on it that you can at least start getting dangerous in it. That's definitely the third skill that most people need to have. They need to have some nutrition knowledge, some exercise knowledge, and then some behavioral change, motivational interview knowledge. And that makes them a really well-rounded coach if we're coaching everything. Maybe you're specific to nutrition or exercise. Motivational interviewing would relate to both of those. So first one is getting the right client. Okay, if we're getting the wrong clients, it's going to be hard to get buy-in. Okay. Second one is, what's our onboarding process look like? Are we onboarding effectively? Okay. Do we have a process for onboarding this person into our facility, into our coaching practice? Is it a system? Is it repeatable? If I gave you 50 clients tomorrow, would it break? Right? These are all good ways to measure if we have something good in place. Right? Hopefully, if you're using Coach Catalyst, you've built out an onboarding process. So if I gave you 50 clients tomorrow, yeah, it would be a little bit hectic, but you could put them all and start onboarding them really, really well. You may have trouble like scheduling calls and that kind of stuff afterwards, but as far as the onboarding process, should be pretty dialed in. So that's kind of the next piece is onboarding. Remember with that onboarding, we're trying to reduce anxiety, right? Someone that comes into your coaching program, right, is going to be a little bit anxious. I've tried things in the past, right? I don't know if this is going to work for me. And so using that onboarding to help reduce some of that anxiety and then start to instill trust and belief in that client. And so we want to instill trust and belief. Trust is doing what you say you're going to do. So after you get off the call and the client is giving you their credit card, you let them know the next steps. You're starting to build trust. And when those steps actually happen, right, the client starts to trust you more and more. And then we want to instill some belief in the client. So the belief comes from showing that you've done this with other people in the past, right? And that's just simply testimonials, success stories, right? And we start feeding those out to clients along with all the other things that we need to do, like potentially sign a waiver or potentially have them do an intake form. I like video every single day of you, and it can be simple. Like you can just use like QuickTime if you're a Mac user. I don't know what you non-Mac users use that's on your computer, but you can just record videos just like this. Doesn't need to be pretty, doesn't need to be perfect, right? It's just you talking to the camera, and actually not pretty and not perfect is going to be better. We want these to be a little bit more real because you are a real person. If it's too produced, right? If it's too produced, then that's probably going to have a level of skepticism inside of what you're doing, especially if it's you. If you're the face of the business and you're coaching, we want it to be a little bit more raw. I mean, honestly, you like literally could just take your phone out and record that way. It doesn't need to be long. Think how people consume content nowadays, 2 to 3 minutes tops. Okay. And we just build these out. Okay. What do you need the client to do? You need to fill out some forms. You need to walk them through the technology. I see this as a mistake that a lot of coaches make is we just say like, hey, we just have them download an app and we think that they're just going to know how to use it, right? Walk them through it, hold their hand through every piece of the process, and they're going to have a much better experience. And we know that onboarding is directly related to retention. So the better onboarding we can have with a client, the better retention we're going to have. So when we're thinking about buy-in, great onboarding right from the start. Another piece with buy-in around, especially around technology, right? Another piece around technology. So we all have a ton of apps on our phone. I wish I could show how many apps I had on my phone, but I have a lot of apps on my phone. And like Apple does now this cool thing where they just like silently remove apps, not remove them from your phone, but remove all the data. So if you want to use them again, they like pop back up. And so one thing that I found a lot is push notifications aren't as effective as they used to be at one time because people have lots of apps on their phone. And so when I go to my push notifications, I'm just going on my phone right now, I've got tons of them, and you're probably not gonna be able to see them, but like I can just scroll through all of these push notifications, right? And I clean mine up almost every day. And so it gets really noisy. So they're not having the same impact that they did before. But you know what does have an impact? That red dot. So you see it on my message thing there, right? So that red dot has an impact. But if it's on page 57, right, of my phone or in my app library, I'm not going to see that stuff. So the first thing and best thing that you can do when you have a new client download an app is move that app right to their home screen. Show them how to do it. Some people don't know how to do it. I don't know how you Android users do it, but on iOS, we grab it, right? And then they bounce around, and then you can move it to where you want to move it to. So get that client to bring that app to the home screen. And that can be a task as part of the onboarding process, right? That can be an action. Move the app to your home screen. Send me a screenshot. Send me a screenshot of it when it's done, right? That's just like a really simple way to get better buy-in and better engagement from your client. Now they're going to see a little red dot. Okay, if that red dot is there, hey, there's something going on inside the platform. Maybe it's a community post, maybe it's a message, and they're going to click into it, and we're going to have better engagement with that client. So that's a really simple thing that you can do that will get you better buy-in. Is just get that thing, scroll that thing all the way over to the main screen, and then it's going to be right there, front and center for that client, so that it's there for them. So when I think about buy-in, those are kind of probably three of the main ones. Let's make sure that we're getting the right client. Okay. It's going to be hard to get buy-in if we're not getting the right client. Let's make sure that we have a really, really good onboarding process that's dialed in, so that if I gave you 50 clients, you can handle them beautifully, right? Let's build that sucker out and keep iterating on it. Every time you have questions, right? Add that to your onboarding process. Okay, so that it makes it a little bit easier each time you bring on a new client. And then let's look at ways that we can make it easy for the client to consume our stuff. So let's get the app all the way onto their home screen. If you're using macros first, right, take the app, move it all the way to the home screen. Make sure there's a lesson that explains how they're using things. That's going to give you much, much, much better buy-in. So if you missed the email from last Friday, go back and check that one. I added a few more inside of the email, but I just wanted to talk through some of them today as well, because I think it's valuable. Because if you get good buy-in early on, now we're having clients for 2, 3, 5 years rather than just for 3 months and they churn. So we're looking at creating processes that allow us to have clients for the next 6 years. Let me know if you guys are getting a lot of background noise from me. I'm in one of my facilities, and so they're starting to run some stuff. So I just want to make sure that I'm not getting a ton of background noise. You guys can hear me okay. So, all right. Remember, you can ask questions, throw them in the comments, Facebook, YouTube, or on Riverside. I've got them all open, so you can throw them in. And I think I have time for one more. Maybe we'll go in depth with this one a little bit more next week as well. So, all right, next one that I have on the list is tracking your numbers. Tracking your numbers. This is a little bit kind of left field here, and I need to grab some writing just to make sure that I write all this down. All right, so tracking our numbers. Okay. Rather than just looking at our bank account and seeing, like, do we have more money this month than we had last month? I think it's important to look at a few pieces of the funnel just to make sure that we are kind of understanding how everything flows. And if you're just a brand new coach, or just a brand new coach, that's terrible language. If you are a brand new coach, then just using a spreadsheet or something like that can work just fine, or even like a Trello board or something, a free tool that gets you going, right? So when we start thinking about our kind of numbers, let's keep it really basic to start from. So from a marketing standpoint, we start at the top of the funnel, and that's what we call leads. Okay, prospects. Anyone that's ever inquired about what you're doing, people that you've met at events, people that you've added to your email list. Honestly, leads can be people that have liked a post that you made. If you made one of the I'm looking for X amount of people, or I just created a new program type of post and people like it, that's a potential lead. Right? Let's try and get all of these leads into one place so that you can communicate with them. So we've got leads. So from a lead, the next piece in most coaches' process is booking like a consultation, right? So whatever you call it, we call it success sessions at our facilities, but a consult, right? If you're doing one-on-one coaching, if it's a little bit more expensive, you probably need to talk to them before they buy, right? If you're running a challenge or something like that, you might be able to just drive people to it, but we're talking a little bit more about kind of the one-on-one coaching. So we've got leads, then we've got consults, and then the next thing is showed, okay? Did they actually show up for the consultation? It's kind of important, right? Because if they didn't show, that tells us a little bit about our process, right? Did we have our reminders set up? Did we have text message reminders? Did we have email reminders? We want to make sure that process is what that looks like. And then after they've showed, now we look at new clients. Okay. So from the people that showed, what percentage of those people did we turn into clients, right? Or what percentage of those people did we buy? And this can all be on a spreadsheet. You can be doing tallies in your office if you want to, and then at the end of the month, kind of add it all up, because all this gives each each piece of this gives us insight into the process and where we want to spend a little bit more time, troubleshoot, try and figure out what might be going on. And so we've got new clients, and then from new clients, we're looking at retention. Okay. So how many clients do I have this month that I had last month, right? If I had 10 clients last month, I have 10 clients this month. Okay. I had a retention of 100%. If I had 10 clients last month and then this month I only had 9 clients, right? Then I had a retention rate of 90% or a churn rate of 10%. So understanding your retention, understanding that piece. I like retention. I think it's a good number because it gives us an overall picture of what's going on, but it is what we call a lagging indicator, meaning we're finding out the information after the fact, right? Where I want to know if someone is going to churn before the fact or if someone's going to quit before the fact. And in most coaching situations, this isn't a concrete science, but if someone's engagement pattern changes, they're likely to cancel. Physical brick and mortar world, right? In the physical brick and mortar world, they'll stop showing up for sessions. And then they're most likely going to cancel, or it's only a matter of time. Right? In the online coaching world, it might be they're taking longer to get back to messages. Maybe they're not even responding at all to messages, right? Maybe they're missing their calls. Maybe they're not doing their check-ins. Okay? These are all good indicators that someone is going to churn, and we need to kind of ramp up our coaching prowess, right? We need to engage with this person again because they're starting to become disengaged, right? And once they become disengaged, they will churn. Okay, so understanding that number, but we have number at the facility that we call the lost sheep report. So the lost sheep report is anyone who has shown up one time or less in the last week, and those are people who are just encouraging to come into the facility more. So you'd have to figure out in your particular practice, if you're online only, what does that look like? And so you can start looking at those. Maybe people aren't doing check-ins, that kind of stuff. And then you're starting to really engage with those people to re-engage them and get them back into the process. So that's just like a good place to get started from a marketing standpoint, because now if I'm not getting enough lead, right? Now when I've ran a few people through this process, I can see what part am I struggling with. Maybe I'm struggling with getting my leads to consults. Okay, cool. Now maybe I'm struggling with consults to showed. Okay, cool. We can put some processes in there. Maybe I'm struggling with showed to new clients. Okay, cool. We need to work on our sales process. And so each of those gives you some good insight into each step in the process. And then you can figure out what to do to fix that step. So we're incrementally making the business better. But most people just kind of look at bank accounts or don't really have a good idea on this. So they don't really know where to spend their time. Because a big part of your time is going to be coaching. Okay, that's what we want, coaching. But early on, you're not going to have as many clients. So all or most of your time should be around these processes, marketing, awareness, that kind of stuff. So hopefully that's helpful. It gives you at least some ideas on how to get started with numbers. Really simple. Just create a spreadsheet. Leads, consults, or whatever you called it, showed, and then new clients. Okay, cool. And then you can figure out your retention rate. After that, we could have a lost clients and then figure out your retention rate. Really simple. Just create a spreadsheet and just start tracking your numbers. If you need something on the wall, just put it on the wall, do tally marks, and then at the end of the month, add it all up and see what those numbers do. And then as you start working on new things, you can easily see, hey, how many more leads did we get this month, or how many more clients did I get this month? But it'll all be right there inside of the spreadsheet. So cool, guys. Yeah, I apologize. I'm kind of a little out of my element today. I normally don't sit during these calls either, so I got to figure that situation out as I'm getting all of this mess behind me where it needs to go. So hopefully I have it a little bit better by next week. But if you have any questions, you can drop them in quickly. You've got about 10 seconds. I'm going to just run through all these platforms just to make sure I didn't miss any questions. But I'm here every Tuesday at noon Central and hanging out. So if you have questions that you want answered and you can't make the call live, then just drop them in the Facebook group, drop them in the email that I send out on Mondays, and we can go from there. So, all right, cool. I don't see anything here, so I'm going to sign off. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, and always keep changing lives. We'll see you later. Bye.